Hello and welcome to another video. My name's Jack and today we've got a video starring the R9 290. So first of all, I would just like to let you know that this is my first video, so welcome. Like I said, my name's Jack and here we go with our first video.
Sorry, I don't know that, but I do have a skill you might like.
Okay.
It's called the Mind Reader.
Thank you Alexa.
Do you want to try?
Okay, Alexa, stop. Cheers, Alexa. I mean, if we want a collaboration, you can just ask. I mean, if anyone wants to see a collaboration, I mean, put in the comment section below. Maybe we can make that happen. Anyway, moving on. Like I said, we've got a video starring the R9 290. And my question is, how will it perform in 2022? So we're starting off on Tech Power Up just to get a few basic details. I could have wrote these down. I didn't have any clips of the actual card itself because my camera video quality is terrible, so we're just going to come straight off Tech Power Up. So this is the card I have got. It's the Sapphire Tri X, so the triple fan 290 overclocked version. And as you can see over here, we've got all the details about this specific card. So we'll start with, this card was released on December the 20th of 2013. The original release date for the R90, so the reference cards, were November the 5th, 2013, and we are rocking a 1000 MHz GPU clock, and we've got a 1300 MHz memory clock. As you can see here, 6% of an increase over the original card, and on the memory clock, we've got a 4% increase. So this card, like I said, was released in 2013. I mean, that makes this card now nearly 9 years old. So, curious to see what this power-hungry card can do. As you can see here, we've got a TDP of 275 watts, and this card is absolutely massive. Where is it? Does it say? I think it's further down. Oh yeah, if we go down here, as you can see, 305 millimeters. It's massive. Fortunately, I've got quite a big case, and most ATX cases will fit this card. So I paid £110 for this card, which in today's GPU climate isn't too bad. So just going over to eBay here, you can see I've just done a basic buy it now, low price, lowest price, and posting and packaging, and you pay in. This looks a bit like a modified card, but as you can see, you know, you can get the reference card £140 or £139.99. I paid £110, which was, in my opinion, a really good deal, and this card almost on par with the GTX 970. And now if we have a quick look, first of all, I will apologise about my keyboard, it's very loud, but if we just go GTX 970, I should have done this already, but I wasn't actually going to compare it to any card because there was no reason. So we'll go just to use. We're going to get all of these 160, 170 with posting, 169.99, you know, which is quite a bit more than the R9 290. Like I said, I got it for £110. I don't think you will get this card for £110. The 970, I do remember I bought the 970, the MSI card. Which one was it? The red version, this one, the Twin Forza. I got this on release and it kept me forever. It's still in circulation. One of my friends has got it. I gave it to my friend. It was worth £70 and that was about 3 years ago. Now all of a sudden you can't get one for £170. Anyway, so basically these are just some basic overlooks on the card. It's got 4GB of GDDR5 with a memory bus of 512 bits. I've got good expectations of this card. You know, you've got 2 DVIs, HDMI DisplayPort. I'm currently using a DisplayPort. So when we get into the benchmarks on your esports titles like your Valorant, your CSGO, Fortnite, I'm just going to be playing with the competitive settings to get as much frames per second as possible. Other games such as GTA and, you know, Forza, when we come to test them, I will be trying to find a mix of smooth frame rates and nice settings because we like the visuals, don't we, as well. So the suggested power supply is a 600 watt. I am just using a 550 watt. It's an EVGA Supernova 80 plus gold rated power supply, and it's just fine. I've stress tested this GPU for half an hour and had no issues. I don't know how much I was drawing. I don't have, you know, a watt meter to see how much power I was drawing, but it was just holding up just fine. And most of the time, you're not going to be stress testing this card. You're just going to be playing games, and you'll be using a lot less power than the stress test will. So let's move on to the benchmarks. So the first game we're testing is GTA Online at 1080p with the very high settings, 2x MSAA. As you can see in the chart at the top of the screen, this is where all the details / benchmark percentiles are going to be going. So just to let you know, the gameplay you are seeing is recorded with the AMD built-in software, and the benchmark percentiles that I have taken was behind the scenes, no recording, just giving it its absolute best scenario. I don't want to be showing you just a live recording of how it is and then saying this is the statistics we got. That's not going to be 100% accurate to most people because there is a performance loss when recording, especially with the AMD software. So, it is good to know. You can see in the top left that my FPS whilst recording is still very good and playable. So if you do want to buy this card and do some 1080p recording, then you can, and that's great. So yeah, like I said, moving on, we've got an average FPS of 94.6, a 1% low of 74.8, and a 0.1% low of 69.1. So this game ran so smooth, no stuttering, no nothing. I'm causing a bit of chaos on the screen just to, give it its best scenario or / worst scenario. And yeah, that's all I can say. Absolutely playable. You could probably even crank the MSAA up to about 4 times, or maybe even do some advanced settings, which I, didn't choose because I don't play with advanced settings, basically. I quite like to keep it at 2 times MSAA. I think it's a nice balance of performance, smoothness, and good visuals. So yeah, that's pretty much it with GTA. As you can see, absolutely great. Ran perfectly. No issues whatsoever. Next up, we've got CSGO at 1080p, high settings. We've got all of the anti-aliasing options turned off, simply because I don't really mind the jagged edges in CSGO. I don't think they're that bad whatsoever. And we're just going to be playing a little bit of a deathmatch. Just to let you know, once again, the benchmark percentiles were actually taken from a full 10-minute game. I could record a bit longer. It's not necessary. If you look at the performance this graphics card is getting, it's pretty much perfect for CSGO. And I wouldn't have expected anything less. I mean, CSGO, it is an old game now. Playing at, 1080p, no issues. You could even probably go to 1440p if you want to. I mean, a lot of people play CSGO with even lower resolution. I know when I used to play it years ago, I used to play on the trusted 4:3 aspect ratio on my, was it even a 970 back then? I can't remember. I think I used to play on like an R7 360 or something, and even then it was great. So yeah, as you can see, average FPS at 289.3. We've got a 1% low of 172.5 and a 0.1% low of 38.6. I think this 0.1% low is from when you die and then you spawn back in, you get a sudden frame drop. I'm sure that's what it is, because the game itself felt very smooth, very playable. There's no concerns whatsoever from this game, as expected. I mean, this card, from what I'm gathering, is just going to run these esports titles at high settings, or competitive settings at great FPS. Just one thing I would like to mention quickly before we get any further. My game library hasn't really been updated too much lately. I mean, I do have the PC Xbox Game Pass, so I've got a few games from there. I don't have, a lot of the AAA titles, simply because I don't game all that much on my PC anymore. I am now getting back into it. I mean, I had an Xbox One, and that was serving me quite well, to be honest. So I will expand upon my library. We've still got a few benchmarks in this video. So yeah, we'll slowly move on with them all and see what this card is capable of. Okay, so we've got Valorant. Just a quick one on this game. I've genuinely never ever played this game until today, basically. I've installed it. I know it's a very popular title. I stopped playing PC games at a time where this came out, and I just never got around to playing it. I mean, this is literally my first game, and you know what? It was quite fun. I'm just not too much of a competitive player anymore. I used to absolutely love it. I mean, I think I've sunk 3,500 hours into CSGO, maybe a bit less over the years, I don't know. Yeah, so here we are with Valorant. Absolutely great title. This card has no issues, as you can see at the top. We're playing at 1080p high settings with 2 times MSAA. This card could run this game absolutely to the max. I love my high FPS. I only play on 144Hz monitor, but still, more FPS the better in these titles for me. The figures we got were amazing. I mean, would we have expected anything less after playing CSGO and GTA at such good settings? So yeah, we've got average FPS of 297.1, so 297.1, 1% lows of 198.2, and the 0.1% low of 116. I mean, like I said, this game just ran so smooth. My 0.1% lows is nearly at my 144Hz refresh rate, and it felt absolutely amazing. I mean, please ignore my terrible gun skill. I didn't even know you could aim in this game until I, what am I playing at? I've never played this game. I didn't know anything about it. Didn't expect you could aim in on this kind of game. You can. It's brilliant. Yeah, so that's about it. Like I said, not much to show on this one. As you know, Valorant, it runs perfectly. If you're looking to play, well, any game at about 110 to 140 pounds, I do recommend the R9 290. If you've got a 550 watt power supply, which I think you do, or most people will, then 100% recommend it. One thing I haven't mentioned actually is the CPU I'm using. I'm sure you have seen it at the top left of my MSI overlay. I'm using the Ryzen 5 5600X. Obviously, it's a brilliant CPU. Most people won't have this CPU or maybe got an older CPU. I would say a good match for this card would be any 4th gen i5. So, I mean, a 4460, a 4690K, just anything, a 4570, anything from the 4th gen architecture. You know, I think that's 2014, if I'm correct. So I'm sure most people do have an i5 from 2014. Obviously, newer and better CPU you have, that's great. But like I said, I'm doing these budget PC benchmarks just so it fits for a lot of people. You know, not everyone's got £700 to spend on a 3070. And I know, you know, I wouldn't do that. I mean, I'll let you in a little secret. The PC I am currently using came with an RTX 3060. I actually found this deal online. I bought it at an absolute steal of a price. I think it was £1,000, you know, and I managed to sell my 3060 because someone randomly offered me £700 for it, and I don't know why. I accepted it, and I was just like, yeah, I don't need a 3060. I barely play games anymore, and here I am. I'm just kind of putting them funds into budget hardware so we can all play and all see what kind of experience you can have on these old cards. Anyway, I'll stop chatting absolute garbage now. I'll stop gibbering on and we will carry on. Okay, so moving on to another fan favourite. Once again, Fortnite. I've never really played too much. So today we're going to be running it at 1080p, pro settings, and we're just going to play a Battle Royale match. Once again, I am absolutely terrible at this game. I've never really played it, so forgive the gameplay and just obviously focus on the percentiles. We'll just get straight into this one. We got an average FPS of 144.5, a 1% low of 63, and a 0.1% low of 26.7. So this is, you know, very low settings with the draw distance is epic or the highest, and everything else is just cranked down. Simply because I don't think you need the good visuals in this game. However, there's plenty of headroom if you want to put the settings up to medium, you know, even probably high if you only want to play on 60 FPS. Once again, this card is absolutely great with it. One thing I will mention is that, you know, noticing that this video has gone over the 10-minute mark, I don't want to keep you guys, I don't want to make this video boring. It only takes, you know, 10 seconds to read and see that this card is running perfectly. You can even see, you know, the gameplay, the FPS is super high, even though I am recording. We'll move on, just get it over and done with, get a couple more games in so you can see what this card performs like. Moving on, we've got Forza Horizon 5. We're running at 1080p, high settings, and I'm just using FXAA. I'm not bothering with MSAA, I really don't think this game needs it. However, as you can see in the statistics or the percentiles, we've got an average FPS of 65.2, a 1% low of 49.4, and a 0.1% low of 16.7. So one thing I will say about Forza Horizon, it is a very optimized game and it looks amazing. It really does. Within my actual test, obviously the gameplay you are seeing is just gameplay and it's not an accurate representation, even though the FPS is still great. I spent about 25 minutes playing this game, testing it, and that's how I got the percentiles. As you see, I went all around the map, I went through the jungle, cross terrain, down roads, I literally just went over the whole map and I came out with these statistics. One thing I can say is I have done a very in-depth test on Forza Horizon 5 with this card, and I will be making a video on that. Can look out for that if you want to see any more settings. I literally tested every single setting, every single resolution within that setting. It took me a good few hours to do the testing, and I was just interested and intrigued because although I know this game runs very well on the R9 290 at 1080p high settings, I was just interested to see how it'd run at 720p with very low settings, and I can say it looks like a potato and it plays great. If you are interested, there will be a video, and I will link it in the description of this video when that video is out, so very confusing. Anyway, let's get back on track. Like I said, I want to kind of keep this short now. Forza Horizon 5 ran very well. I have no complaints with it, as you can see. It looks great. Could even bump up the settings and play at 45 FPS on this game. It runs smoothly, even then I do like to target 60 FPS, and it easily did that. So yeah, we'll just move directly on. Okay, the final game on this list before we wrap everything up. Doom Eternal. Absolutely great game. I have never played this game until today, and you know, I have played previous Dooms, but this one was great. First time me playing it. Like I keep mentioning, don't mind the gameplay or the skill. We're here for the numbers, aren't we? So Doom Eternal, 1080p, just the medium preset. As you can see, it looks great at medium, and with a game like Doom, I am a bit of a sucker for FPS, so I've targeted a high FPS. I'd be happy with about 80 or 90 FPS in this game, and I know it'd run very, very smoothly. So I just kept it at medium. Obviously, you could play this game probably at the, well, I can't say obviously then probably, but I'd imagine you could play this game at the highest settings at 60 FPS, but I'm not going to test that today. I might do at some point in the future and get back to you guys with a video, because I just want to crunch these numbers, see what this card can do and other cards can do, and keep going from there. So yeah, like I said, it ran amazingly. We've got an average FPS of 117.9, a 1% low of 76.2, and we got a 0.1% low of 69.2. So yeah, like I said, absolutely great. Ran it perfectly, no complaints, no stuttering, no nothing. It was absolutely amazing. Had so much fun. That's all I've got to say about Doom Eternal. So what we'll do is we'll move on to the conclusion. Okay, so to the conclusion, I'd like to speak about a few things about this card. You know, the pros, the cons, the negatives, the goods. So let's get into it. I'd like to start with the negatives, get the doom and gloom out the way first. And I think I've only got a couple of minor negatives. So the first one being quite an obvious one, it being a used card. Used parts isn't for everyone, and I 100% agree with that. However, with things like a graphics card, they rarely go bad. I mean, I've dealt with so many graphics cards in my time, and I've never had an issue. The only issue I have had with graphics card is like a fan gone. You know, a fan's broke or the bearing's gone, but you can get them replaced very cheap from eBay. You can buy fans on eBay for £8. Sometimes lower. So that's a minor negative, but obviously that also comes with a positive because used is so much cheaper. I mean, you can't really buy any new card at the moment. In some cases, the GT 1030 new is more than this card, and it just makes you think, because this card is so much better. You know, I just gave it a clean, changed the thermal paste. The thermal pads were good. I mean, the thermal paste was good on this card somehow. It must have been changed before, I got it. So another minor is gonna have to be the driver support. I'm sure you'd have seen that coming if you are aware of any AMD card. These legacy drivers are a couple of years old now. However, I didn't really have too much issues with them. For example, going into Forza Horizon, I did get a message saying my drivers were out of date. However, I could just ignore the message and play anyway. In fact, when I launched Forza Horizon originally, I just thought probably will be able to play at low settings 1080p, and I'd be quite happy with that on a card this old, as I've not tested Forza Horizon beforehand on any card. In fact, it's the first time I've played it on PC because I was playing it on Xbox. I was very surprised when I loaded up the game at low, 1080p low, and I was getting over 100 FPS, so I immediately just put it on the high preset, FXAA on, and I was very happy with that. So the same thing happened with Doom. I was told that I wouldn't be able to get the full support or whatever. I ignored the message, loaded up with no issues. Bear in mind, I didn't have any crashes, everything loaded fine. It was just obviously a little courtesy message to say, oh, your drivers are a little bit out of date, the game might not run optimal. However, as you can see from the percentiles, I had no issues whatsoever. In terms of, latency and input lag, I didn't see any with this card whatsoever. It was smooth through all the games I tested, and I feel like it could have even been pushed much harder in a lot of cases. That could be a negative to some. Personally, recording this video in 2022, I wouldn't say it's a negative. I wouldn't let this put you off. Another little minor definitely is the age of this card. Obviously, we spoke about the drivers, we spoke about it being used. It is quite an old card now, so I'm not sure how well it will fare. However, it will be a great stopgap card until GPU prices come down, which they very well might now. Obviously, with the GPU crash and the crypto crash at the minute, slowly on the decline. So yeah, that's a few of the minors. If you could maybe think of any, you could put in the comment section and I'll reply in the comment section. I am just doing this straight off the top of a dome today. I've not made a script. I can't get my head around reading off a script. I just sound a bit too robotic. So I've got little notes down, and the couple of the minor points about this card. But obviously the positives outweigh the minors. Great cooling, especially on this Sapphire Tri X fan design card. It holds up in all the games I tested. It was very cheap, in my opinion, in the current market at £110. Bear in mind, I know I did do a little comparison to a GTX 970 in the beginning. Even GTX 750 Ti's can go up for £100 on eBay in the UK. So, you know, for £10, £15, £20, maybe even £30 more, you get a card that's going to outweigh a GTX 750. Obviously, I know the GTX 750 has better support, driver support. It's smaller. Some of them don't require a 6-pin. I know I do get that. I do own 2 GTX 750s, so I will be doing some testing on them because they are a great little card even in 2022 just to get you into light gaming. So I'm not going to ramble on forever. Personally, I would say if you can find this card at the right price, I'd own it, and it's actually surprised me. So we're going to leave the video here. We're going to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed. Please forgive any errors I've made. It is my first video. Obviously, over time, I will improve and things will get better. Hopefully, production value will go up, eh? Anyway, guys, have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.